to my pretend cooking show, and today we're going to be making soft vegan tortillas or wraps. And my daughter's the one who actually found this recipe. I asked her, like, what do you want to eat? Because as a mom, you know, it can be challenging sometimes to find things that your kids are going to want to eat, and she really wanted to have wraps for lunch. So she's the one that found this recipe, which we're so excited about because she loves it. And it's gluten-free, dairy-free, and egg-free. And it's made from mashed potatoes. So first of all, you're gonna start off with peeling 3 red skin potatoes, and you're gonna steam them. It's better to steam them than to boil them because then there's less liquid in them. And then you're gonna measure out 1 cup of mashed potatoes. So I did that here, and then I've already added in my vegan butter. You can use oil if you don't have any vegan butter. I like to use Earth Balance. So 2 tablespoons of that has already gone in, and I've mashed that all into there. Then I'm gonna add in some spices. So I have like a dash of pepper, a little bit of salt, onion powder, and garlic powder. And honestly, the first time we made this, I found there to be a little bit too much salt. So I cut it back 1/4 of a teaspoon just to see if that's a little bit better. Because to me, I found it too salty. Brielle, my daughter, found it just fine. Now, the other cool thing about this recipe is that you are supposed to add in a sourdough starter. Don't let that scare you because I didn't have one either. So to make your own sourdough starter, or just to make something similar to it without it being so much work, you're gonna take either white rice flour or brown rice flour. I used white rice because honestly I have so much of it left over. And in the recipe it says to use 3/4 white rice flour or brown, and then 1/2 cup of warm water. Well, it was so thick, like it was not the resemblance of a sourdough starter. So I added 3/4 cup of white rice flour to 1 cup of warm water, and it's better consistency. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna add in some psyllium husks. If you've never worked with this before, this is what gives it its like pliability, so it's not gonna break. Anyone who's tried gluten-free wraps in the past, they're either very bland, they break, they're very dry, and to roll them up, you have to be so careful sometimes because they're so dry, like I don't know. I found like a coconut wrap once and it was just okay. I didn't love the flavor, and they were in the freezer, but yeah, I didn't love them. These ones are way better. So I'm just gonna mix the psyllium husk into this, and it's going to absorb any excess moisture. And then once that is all mixed in, you'll see it like really soaks it up quickly. I use psyllium husks a lot to make like low carb buns. Oh, I have low power already. And after that, now once that's all mixed up, I'm just gonna put everything together. So I'm going to put the mashed potatoes and the so-called sourdough starter and the psyllium husks all together, and I'm gonna mix that up. Once you mix that up, you're gonna let it sit for about 10 minutes, just so all the moisture absorbs. And then after that, we're gonna add the rest of our ingredients. So I'll be right back. Okay guys, we are back. So I have my dough just resting right now. I always keep it covered like they say. And I do it a little bit differently than what the instructions say too. I know it says to let it rest for 10 minutes after you mix like the psyllium husk and the sourdough starter and the mashed potatoes, but I mix everything together and then I let it rest. For those who are wondering, psyllium husks, you can usually find it in most grocery stores. Anyone who is from the Fox Creek area, you can find it in our little health food aisle. Pretty easy to find, and if you're really in a pinch, you could always look on Amazon too, but most grocery stores do carry this. I've already added my arrowroot powder, which again you can get from any grocery store, and I added baking powder as well. So now that it's been resting and I've divided it, I have my pan heating up right now. For those who actually have blood sugar issues, if you didn't know this about potatoes, so if you're gonna eat these tortillas like once they've kind of cooled down, it will be better for you if you do have blood sugar issues, because cold potatoes that have already been cooked release sugars way more slowly than when they are hot. So even if you're having like mashed potatoes one night, can you guys see this? Even when you're having mashed potatoes one night, if you actually let them cool down to even room temperature, they won't spike your blood sugar as if they were really hot. So just a little tidbit for you, because I know some people are like, you know, these are made out of mashed potatoes, but I have blood sugar issues. Well, if you let them cool down, it might not be too bad. Now, I don't do the best job of rolling out, I'm not gonna lie. Baking is not my thing. Rolling pin, it's one of those things. So you wanna roll it in between 2 pieces of parchment paper because it's gonna be sticky. So the dough is gonna be like a cookie dough. That's what you want it to be like. I'm just gonna put a drizzle of oil in just in case. You wanna roll it out as thin as possible, but don't go too thin. I went too thin the other night and it was too thin. The other thing now, okay, this is where you're gonna watch me like not be such a professional at this. Okay, you're gonna wanna pick it up like this and you're gonna wanna flip it into the pan, okay? So ready? 1, 2, 3. And once it's in there, it's gonna start sticking. You guys can't see this right now. Okay, so I'm gonna let it cook for like 30 seconds, and then I'm gonna be able to pull this parchment paper off. Okay, there we go. Yeah, that one was not a good one, but it's in there. So that's all you do. So you're gonna cook it for 1 minute on one side, and then we're gonna flip it. So I'm timing it right now for 1 minute. This one looks like crap. It's always the first ones, right? Like pancakes are always, the first one's always the worst. I always say the second one for, first one for waffles is always the worst. So this recipe makes 5 tortillas, and I get the other one going once I flip this one. So it won't be much longer. I'm gonna roll out this next one here. You can make them as big or as small as you want. They're actually way easier to roll than most gluten-free things that I've rolled out. Some of it can be a bit of a pain. This one, pretty easy. That one is ready to go. And we're gonna flip this one already. Like, they really take no time to cook. I'm fiddling with this too much today. There we go. Okay, we're gonna let that one cook. Okay, so Brielle's recording me so you guys can see this process a little bit better. Okay, you're gonna take it and you're gonna flip it in. I'm just terrible at this part though. Okay. Again, once it's in, you're gonna just wanna let it cook for about 30 seconds or less, whenever it's gonna let you take away. There we go. And then you're gonna just peel it off. See, I keep getting it on the sides. That's half the battle. If I put it properly in my pan, this wouldn't happen. Okay. And then we're gonna let that cook for a minute. But you can see this one. It's not pretty either. These are rustic tortillas, but you could see, look at how pliable they are. So even when your kids are eating them, they're not gonna complain that they're falling apart or that they taste gross. They can roll them up themselves, and they're not dried out, and they actually taste good. Right, Brielle, since you're behind the camera, do they taste good?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, you can stop it for now. Okay, so I'm gonna show you how I roll it out. So I have a little piece here. I'm gonna flatten it with the parchment paper in between, and I don't know if you can see this well. I'm just gonna roll it out to as thin as possible. If you want smaller ones, obviously you're gonna use less dough. But like I said, not too small, or too thin I should say, or else they break really easily. Okay, that's good. There we go, there's our next one. We'll see if I can flip one. Good, here. I'm just gonna do it in a second. Got a hole in that one. Okay, there's another one. Here we go, ready? Let's go, Mom. Dang it. You're getting it on the side.
Mistakes help you learn.
Yes, thank you. There we go. All right, we're good. So I'm just finishing up my last tortilla, And so the way to store these, you can store them on the counter in a Ziploc bag, or you could store them in the fridge if you want them to last longer, or you can even freeze them. If you're gonna freeze them, you're gonna wanna put some parchment paper in between each so they don't stick together. But again, they're not perfect by any means, and who cares, because they're so easy to work with. You could just do whatever with them. So tonight, I think for supper, we have some roasted chicken that we're just gonna shred up. We can put that in there, some lettuce, tomatoes, cucumbers, whatever sauce, whatever you want in there, and we're gonna roll it up and eat that. You could also do like your own burritos, so if you even wanna use rice or cauliflower rice, some beans, whatever you wanna add in there. Like I said, these could be used for really anything. Even if you wanted to do like egg wraps in the morning, I know a lot of people love to do that, but again, if you can't have gluten or dairy or eggs, if you're sensitive or have digestive issues, this is a great way to actually enjoy a wrap that won't fall apart and tastes amazing. So I hope that helped, and we'll see you next time.